We are so lucky we're all really to just be around in this person's lifetime. In the history of Formula One, which goes back to 1950 and Grand Prix before that, since the early 1900s, no one has got more pole positions. No one's got more podium finishes. No one has won more races. He's a 7-time world champion. He is the current reigning, defending champion. He's an absolute motorsport icon of the entire planet. It's an absolute pleasure to be in his company. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Sir Lewis Hamilton.
How you guys doing? Hey. Oh, that was a serious hype. You just hyped me up. I need to start bringing you around with me everywhere.
It's easy when it's the truth. It really is. Lewis, we were just talking just before you came out about how nice it is just to be able to do this again. How is it for you to be back in Austin and to be able to actually be face to face with people?
Honestly, it's so nice to see people, and I think over this time you really start to. I think I appreciate people even more and the energy you get from people, right? And hearing the crowd this weekend. All day today has been crazy. This is actually our first appearance that we've done since on the race weekend, since shutdown. So, it's great this is the first one. So, it's great to be here, and Austin's always awesome. Yeah, it's great to see people in there because last year we had no one in the crowd at all, so it felt like a practice day and super lonely. So yeah, it's just nice to be back.
And it's a place where you've had massive success. 5 times you've won here. You won in Indianapolis as well, all the way back in your debut season.
Yeah.
So it's been a happy hunting ground for you as well.
It has. I don't know how it is for you, but as a Brit growing up, movies. I love movies, and you're watching all these movies. Was it? It's not The Grinch. What's the one in? Shoot, damn it. Well, there's a lot of movies in New York, and Scrooge. I was thinking about Scrooge. But just everything in New York and all these great cities that you have out here, and my dream was to come out to the States. So, but when I was really young, I spent a lot of time living on a US air base in the UK. So, and I just love how Americans, you celebrate, you got Thanksgiving where everyone gets together. We don't do that in England. We have roast dinner on a Sunday maybe, but which is similar. But then Halloween is amazing. So when I was on this base, we celebrated Halloween. But then I took that back home, and I used to go out and no one was celebrating Halloween, and I was trick-or-treating. No one ever had any sweets. It was pretty depressing. So yeah, I've always loved to come out here and the buzz and the energy. So I get out early, and so I was out in California last weekend, just training. And in my winters I spend out here in the mountains. So yeah, it's just a beautiful place, and I think the people are just great.
You've got a place still here, over in this part of the world?
Yeah, well, just bit by bit, I'm just getting more places here. So just putting anchors, and I've got a place in New York as well. So yeah.
Awesome. So really hot this race week. I remember a couple of years ago, I was just saying to the guys before, and I remember it was freezing. We were coming into track early, everyone fully wrapped up, loads of layers. And today we're looking at 100 degrees, whatever Fahrenheit. I mean, really warm. And then you're in a cockpit with a really powerful engine behind you, and that's generating a bit of heat. How hard is it driving in this kind of heat?
Yeah, I mean, it's just humid, and we've got the thermal fireproof underwear on, gloves, helmet, balaclava. So before you even get in the car, you're hot. And yeah, I think today, I don't know, Ange can say, but I think I lost 2 kilos already today.
Wow.
So it's just in liquids. So, and then just from one practice session, I lose over 1 kilo. So just replenishing non-stop, and so I'm probably at my lightest now. And I don't eat a lot during my race weekend either, just to keep clean and lean. And but tomorrow's gonna be really tough. The race. I think probably tomorrow in this heat is most likely gonna lose 6 to 8 pounds, I imagine.
It's a pretty good diet if you want to be a Formula One racing driver. It's pretty handy. But that is...
I've got a good story on that.
Go on.
When I first came out here in the States many years ago, and went to a wedding, and I didn't know what the conversion rate from kilos to pounds was, and someone came up saying it was 9 pounds per kilo or something like that. So when I told this family, and they're all Samoan Hawaiians, really, really big, they're like, damn, that's like a whole leg. we gotta start racing. It was, and when I left, I was like, these guys will think I'm an idiot because I'm losing 40 pounds in a race.
That's a really good diet. So what can you do to combat that? Because I think we all know what it's like. There's only so much water you can, or whatever's energy drink or something beforehand you can go with. You can't drink too much, otherwise you feel bloated. So is there anything you can do?
No, that's not necessarily the case with the bloated. Well, so I carry a big jug around with me, and I generally try to drink a gallon a day. And the only way I can do it is if I have this jug. And but then Angela's with me, she's constantly giving me liquids. So when I arrive on the weekend, if I'm drinking, I'm not having to pee all the time. But that's the biggest worry. You have to pee right before you get in the car. Then we go to the grid tomorrow, I have to get out and have to hop, and just the last minute I have to go.
That leads me seamlessly on to my next question.
So there are many drivers that pee in the car. And I heard Michael Schumacher, he used to pee all the time, and even if I wanted to, I've not been able to do it. But driving with a full bladder, there's so much compression. It's the most uncomfortable thing that you will experience. So so unfortunately I've not had to in a long, long time. And
then do you have some drinks on board? I mean,
yeah, we have a kilo of, I think it's like a kilo of liquids. Oh, a litre. Yeah.
Does everyone know Angela, by the way? She's just in the background there. Lewis's physio and right-hand woman, I guess, over the weekend.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without her, so I wouldn't have any clue where I'm going, or,
So you have a little bit of kind of liquid on board?
Yeah, but I have to have Bono remind me quarterly through the race to drink, because otherwise I don't drink. You're just so focused that you forget. But there are actual studies that you start to lose cognitive function as you are more and more dehydrated. So tomorrow I'll be drinking as much as I can. But it starts off cold because it's all icy. But by the time I get to the grid tomorrow, it's like tea. So who wants to drink tea when it's
nice and refreshing?
Yeah, it's not really nice.
So speaking of the track, it's, from a spectator's point of view, there's loads of really decent sections. Obviously the first S is as you make your way kind of up to turn 8 and 9 at the top, huge long back straight, and then turn 12 I think it's the hardest braking zone. Now today on the graphics on the television, they were looking at about 5.5 Gs of force when you brake. So for those of you who might not know, sort of our weight right now is 1 G in gravity, and then obviously you times it multiple times. An astronaut on takeoff will experience about 3 Gs of force. Lewis today is experiencing 5 Gs when he's braking going into turn 12. If you can, how does that feel?
It feels great. It's everyone here drives a car, so when you're braking for the stoplight or a roundabout,
they're not doing it at the same speed.
You're feeling 0.2 of a G probably, but it's a multiple of your body weight. Yeah, so it's when you hit the brakes in our car, it's awesome. We're doing 200 plus miles an hour in the straight, and you can hit, because we've got so much load on the car. We have I think it's like 2 tons of downforce. So the wind just generating what a plane would do. If we turn the car upside down, the thing would take off. And you hit the brake as hard as you can. So you've got a strong hip, lower back. That's why Andrew's always making sure, because my hips are all over the place. It's like having something like an elephant, I guess, sitting on your back for a second. And so you have to train your neck, and it's really about the core. You can't be big and bulky naturally, because I have to keep my weight low. I'm heavier than I used to be because the rule changed, so we can be something like nearly 10 kilos heavier than I was when I was younger. In the younger days, so that's good. I've been able to eat more. But it's more the exciting thing about what we do is because people always ask how fast you go, but it's really how quick we go around the corners. So when we do corners at 180 miles an hour, and the thing's on rails, and your body wants to go the opposite way, so it's exhilarating, and you're the turn 16, 17, 18, you're trying to hold your head up, but it slowly goes. So that's where you just got to do a lot of conditioning.
So the last race out we had in Turkey, it's got a famous corner as well, turn 8 in Istanbul, but it's very similar to that section, but it's a left-hander. So you're working the other side, and then today obviously...
Yeah, well, most of the tracks are clockwise, so there's a small handful of anti-clockwise circuits, so ones that go more left, and so the left side of your neck is less trained, and so you have to prepare for it. But it's that race you just don't even bother, you just rush it out.
200 miles an hour, nice and casually, just resting on the side, leading the Grand Prix.
And it's all about efficiency, right? You always look into how to optimize your body strength and where to use the energy and when and where. Same with the power, same with the tires, same with your body and your mind. And when the engineers talk to you over the radio, you have to choose. They have to tell them where to speak to you, because if they speak to you just before the breaking point, you'll miss it. Because it's like a CPU, your mind. So as soon as you give another, question or mark that you have to then churn and then action a switch change, for example, that takes away from perfecting the corner.
And that is, so you go through that with Bono. So Lewis's race engineer is a guy called Peter Bonington. It's called Bono. Some of you might know it for the sport. It's famous for saying it's hammer time. So do you go through that with Bono pre-event in terms of don't talk to me there, don't talk to me there, feel free to talk to me there?
Yeah, so Bono's been my engineer now 10 years. So it's a long partnership, and he knows me well. Unfortunately, he's the one that's fortunately, but then sometimes unfortunately, he's on the other end of the phone line. So if I'm angry, he's the one that gets it all. It's very rare, but yeah. So we just, it's communication's everything, and engineers they love data, and they love numbers, and they like when we designed the steering wheel when I joined the team. They want to give me 100 buttons. I'm like, I can't physically use 100 buttons while I'm driving the track. They're like, well, what about this one? I'm like, no. So I have to bring practicality into things, and yeah. But even after all these years, there's still things I can do better and they can do better, and so we're always just making sure we're speaking about things and not letting things last till hold on to things. That's the worst thing you can do.
I mean, it's that relationship's so important, but just loyalty and trust in general with the rest of the team. You've had your whole career with Mercedes Power, and you've been with the team since 2013.
Yeah.
I mean, when you moved over, how long did it take to build up that real gut trust? Where you're 100% relying on people. Did it take a little time, or?
I mean, the relationships. It's an ongoing thing. Like, I guess it's like a marriage, right? Yeah. You're just constantly working at it, and at the end of it, even at the end of the season, you're thinking, okay, how can I engage with my engineers and mechanics better? How can I be better for the guys in terms of steering the car in the right direction? How can I reserve more, have in reserve more energy to be able to do extra things with the guys? Because they're on, the guys in the garage, they're on their feet for so many hours every single day. They get home, see their family for 1 or 2 days, and then they're off to the next place. So they're away from their families. It's so tiring this season, and it's getting longer and longer. 23 races. It's really grueling, and we literally only have a couple of weeks in January, and then you're already back in the factory. Well, those guys are back in the factory. I have January off, and then February you're back. Already training in January, but then February already practiced. The season starts in March, all the way to December. So once Christmas goes, you're back into it again, and it's a recovery and just staying motivated, and it's that's the thing. And we've all got to lift each other up, because there's days where I'm low, and my hand lifts me up, or and vice versa. And that's what makes us the best team.
So the treadmill just keeps on going. I'm sure a lot of us can probably relate to that as well. In terms of the weekend so far. Obviously, Red Bull's just really quick around here, and looked like they had the advantage probably from FP2 yesterday and this morning. In terms of your own sort of judgment of the day, how happy were you with the qualifying lap, and what do you think we can do maybe tomorrow?
Well, I've done a lot of qualifying laps, and I wouldn't put it in my top 10. So,
that top 10 is so good, by the way. It is so good.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I've had a lot of decent laps. But it's crazy. I've been racing so long, and I'm still chasing, trying to perfect those laps. And the thing is, the track's constantly moving. The target's just never in the same place. So you make changes for the car, and you have to try and think of where it's going to be when you get out there, when the wind directions. Even if the gust comes up another, 10 kilometers an hour of wind speed, We had a headwind in turn 1 and a tailwind coming out of turn 1, and there's just such a difference between going in and coming out. And I made a couple of tweaks of the car. It didn't feel spectacular, and so I was, fighting it around. And it wasn't an easy lap, but we're on the front row. We're in a good position to fight. I think the target was to get the car ready for the race. That's the most important thing tomorrow, is be able to go the distance and make the tires last. So I'm praying that the setup changes we made works.
Speaking of which, so we managed to get through Q2 on the medium tyres, so that's the race start tyre tomorrow. How's the difference between the medium and the soft that you felt this weekend? How long do we think we can go on the medium before we have to come in for a change?
So the track has been weathering year after year. The first year we came, so obviously new tarmac, it's very smooth. You could do a one stop, and then it's just getting, as we drive more and more, we damage the surface more and more, it's getting more aggressive. This weekend, plus it's hot, the tyres are not lasting long, and there's a big drop off in time, degradation in the tyres. And so tomorrow is going to be at least a 2-stop, maybe more, yeah. And so time management is going to be key. And the thing is, when we came into the weekend, we were going to get rid of one of our hard tires. And I remember sitting down with the guys, and I was like, I need the 2 hard tires, I think, this weekend. So we've kept them, which so has Max. So I think, but now I have 2. We're starting medium, but I have a fresh pair of mediums and 2 hards for tomorrow, and we'll just play it by ear when we use them, because a new medium can give you an undercut. So if I manage to be able to hold on to him, switching to a medium is quicker than coming out on a hard. It's so technical. This sport is ridiculous.
Actually, if you wouldn't mind, because we hear a lot, or I certainly do, watching about how the drivers manage their tyres, and it always, I feel like it maybe should be an exact science, but actually it's more of a dark art. What exactly are you doing when it comes to managing tyres? What's the driving techniques that you're employing to help make them last?
It really is. It's ridiculous, right? So before the race, so the engineers have, they can through the data they can see which corners hurt which tire most. So there'll be, like for example, this track where the temperature really increases is exit of turn 1, and you carry it all the way through 2, and 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, where the tires are through the roof, and they don't recover much after that. So turn 6, turn 16, 17, and 19, all the high-speed corners are really damaging to the left rear, for example, and that's the one that's often at this track going to be the one that degrades the most. So I need to look after it tomorrow. So that means basically you've got to try and take those corners a little bit slower and make up for it in other places. There's moving your brake balance forwards. So it's really technical stuff. It'll be difficult to understand. But also there's like lift and coast. So we start with full fuel tomorrow, which is about 220 pounds of fuel.
Yeah, I've tried to work this out to conversion. I think it's something like that. 220.
So in qualifying today, we have about 10 pounds of fuel, something like that, or 20 pounds of fuel, something like that. Super light, very nimble. And then tomorrow it's full fuel, and the car's much different. It's like a bus, a Formula 1 bus, but it's really heavy to start with, and it gets lighter naturally through the race. But when it's heaviest, it's really hard on the tires, and as it gets through the race, it gets easier to manage the tires. But there's something called lift and coast, where we instead of just coming off the gas at 100 meters and braking at 100 meters, you lift at 200, cruise, so you arrive at the corner at lower speed, and you can brake at say 80 meters. And having that efficiency per corner is really not easy. But if you can lift and coast like 50 meters per lap, you can save fuel, but also tire temperatures.
I find it amazing. It's such a high skill level, because that will be changing lap by lap as the weight of the car goes down and you use more fuel. So lap by lap, you're having to adjust it.
And if you slide the rear tires, for example, you get a gust of wind, or you go a little bit too deep, going too fast, and you slide the tire, you never get that temperature back. It's like having, I always describe it as having like $100, and you have to spend it in your stint, before your pit stop. And you would like to have, you need $5 left basically at the end of your stint, but sometimes you don't make it. And so that's when I'm trying to spend it wisely, basically, the energy and the time that I have in these tires. But it's really, really hard to do.
That's a really lovely analogy, actually. I've not heard that before. I'm going to steal that and use it as well. So yeah, what I'd like to do, ladies and gents, is throw it up to throw it out to the crowd. I think we're relatively quiet here, so we won't need a microphone or anything. I'm sure we can hear you. We did briefly discuss Max's one finger wave before yesterday, so we've covered that. We don't need to go into that again. Does anyone have a question?
How did you cover it?
We figured it out. It was one fingers with the thumbs up.
Oh,
just
really?
Going, yeah. But he was just saying hello, yeah. Okay, this gentleman here.
En español, él me va a traducir.
Sí, sí.
¿Tú conoces Playa Grande, República Dominicana? Dos preguntas. Playa Grande, República Dominicana.
If you know Playa Grande in Dominicana.
I've heard of it, yes. I would love to go at some stage. I've never been.
Mi pregunta es, la segunda pregunta
Is it money?
You invited me.
Yeah.
I'm down.
We'll go. We'll go on holiday,
We'll
vacation.
go.
We
Sweet.
come from there.
The Dominican is beautiful.
I know. I follow you. But, ¿por qué tú sigues, o sea, las estrellas por lo general utilizan las redes para producir dinero, pero tú utilizas tus medios y tus redes para temas sociales? ¿Por qué?
So he says that normally icons like you use the networks and social networks to produce money. You use it for social events, social communications, some charity work. Why?
Well, I mean, I do have sponsorship things that I do also, obviously with the team, but I think for me I'm really just trying to utilize this platform. That, I never in a million years thought that I would have followers or be in the position. I always dreamed of racing, but when you're dreaming of racing, you don't think of all the things that come along with it. And over the years, I've just been trying to figure out, like, what do I want to be, what's the message that I want to be getting out to the kids out there, particularly that might be like I was when I was younger, who are struggling, knowing what to do. They might be facing adversity. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of causes, a lot of stuff going on. So, and I'm an empath, so I see a lot of things that are happening around the world, and the first thing I want to do is like, I wish I could change it, or if I could help. And sometimes the only thing you can do is share the word and help other people also know. And because ultimately it's going to take all of us to help heal the world, right? And ultimately we've got to all come together. And yeah, I just remember when I was younger and when I first got to the sport, everyone just told me to stay quiet. And I remember the feeling of I wanted to say something, but I couldn't use my voice. And I know so many people around the world feel that. And so I hope that by taking sometimes those bold steps, that's gonna ultimately upset people that are maybe in power or whatever. But it's gonna get to the end result and hopefully encourage others out there to, when they see something that is not right, to say something, to speak up. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, well said. Well said. We'll have to move on to this gentleman.
Lewis, it's race day tomorrow. Turn 1. Have you got a plan? Should be interesting, right?
Yeah, well, so the starts are such an important part of our weekend, and you wouldn't believe how much work goes into just getting those few seconds right. And so we measure from when the lights go out to the first 4 seconds, and it's usually who can cover the most distance in that period of time.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of things. You've got to have tires at the right temperature. You've got to have your brakes at the right temperature. You've got to have brake balance set for turn 1. It's how many burnouts you do before you stop. It's your reaction time when the lights go out, and that's changing. Sometimes it's 1.5 seconds they have the red lights on and they turn them out, or sometimes it's several seconds. So Max has been really strong. They've been really strong in their starts this year. They've really improved their engine, and it's been very, very difficult to beat them off the line.
Are you on the inside or the outside?
I'm on the inside.
Yeah.
So naturally, because he's on pole, I think it's 8 meters behind. So basically almost a car length and a bit behind. So I need a better reaction time and a better getaway to get anywhere near because it's quite a short start as well. Like Mexico is really, really far all the way down to turn 1. It's like 600 meters. is where this one's maybe 100.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really, really short. So, but if I can just get up the inside, then it's all about braking as late as you can and stuffing out the inside. But I really won't know till I get away. And it's not all one on the first corner, right? You've got to know this is it's a marathon, not a sprint. So goals to get round cleanly.
Yeah.
And you know how things go with Max, so just got to leave space if I can. If I can get ahead of him, great. That's going to change our race and make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But highly not sure that's necessarily the case, so I don't plan for that necessarily.
Cool.
Well, good luck.
Ladies and
Don't
gents.
put that online though.
Ladies and gents, we could just talk all night and it'll be so enjoyable. But
Wanna do one more?
I want the chap to get some rest as well. So we've got time for one more question. This young lad here. What would you like?
How do you stay focused during the race?
Yeah, focus during the race. It's probably to do mostly what I've been doing it a long time, so that helps. But preparation is everything. So when I wake up, I do my stretches. I won't meditate in the morning tomorrow, but then there's a lot of studying before the race. So already tonight they'll send me a document and they'll be talking about what we did last year. It's like studying for a test basically. And there's a lot of information of a strategy that I need to know all these different scenarios that could happen if we stop 2 laps earlier, or if we go 8 laps longer, or if the temperature goes below 35 degrees or it goes over 40. All these different things that I have to have in my pocket, so I know, because when you're driving you're very much alone out there, even though you're in touch with the team, and they have all the data. They can see where everyone else is, as you only know what's ahead of you. So and otherwise I just always look ahead, and it's all about being calm. And as I said, because I've done all the preparation before, which is the most important part, then I'm able to just do what I love doing, which is I've been doing it a long time, since I was 8. So and when you're in the zone, it's a cool place to be. You put the visor down and it's like you're in your superpower mode. And so and you're just chasing. There's no moment that you're thinking of like, where am I going on holiday, or what am I going to have for dinner? Never. When we're doing practice days, those are the days I don't like, because it gets very tedious. And those days I'm sometimes like daydreaming, like when I'm going round, but not in the race.
Awesome. Lewis, thank you so much for your time on a busy race weekend. It's so lovely, as I said, to get to do this in person. I hope you've all enjoyed it. I know I have every time. We've just got one little last request. I think lovely Maddie is somewhere with a camera. We're going to try and do like a quick selfie stick photo, sort of facing that way, and we'll get it, sent out to you all. Obviously, we can't go around hand by hand, but we'll try something here. So is Maddie around with the selfie stick? Yeah, she's just coming. There we go. So I think it's relatively straightforward. It's just a button at the bottom, I think. So what we'll do is, is that alright? Or if not, I can take one. Right, guys, I need you to be professionals. Find the lens.